you?
How you doing?
Not bad. I you know how we get that Sunday feeling of like, God, I have work the next day. I've got that right now. Although we are recording like midweek. I just came back from Wales and I love Wales.
A long weekend.
Oh yeah, I did that bank holiday weekend thing. And I haven't had time off work since January. So I felt like
much needed.
Yeah, much needed, definitely. And Wales is amazing and England sucks. And now I've got work tomorrow. That's the vibe I'm on right now.
3-day week, man. 3-day week is
No. I had longer. Yeah.
No, I'm saying a 3-day week is not bad.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So, I mean, it was 3 days last week, 3 days this week.
Yeah. There you go. Lovely stuff.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm pretty thrilled it's a 4-day week for me. Yeah, just chilling, man. Just trying to make some good time summer memories before it fully goes. But I think that's happened.
Yeah. I suppose so. I mean, the last bank holiday of the year is technically like the end of summer, isn't it?
And then I came across this 1950s How to Get a Husband article on Instagram yesterday.
Oh, stop. Okay, go on. Please educate me.
Do you want me to read some of the entries out to you? Oh my God. And then part of me was like, how funny would it be to sort of like go through some of these and like try and do them more out of like a poignance of like, these are ridiculous.
Some of them might work.
Well, there you go. So number 1 is get a dog and walk it.
You know what? That's a good suggestion.
I borrow dogs a lot and that hasn't worked for me yet. So this is in the category of where to find him.
Okay.
Have your car break down at strategic places.
That is absolutely ridiculous.
Attend night school. Take courses like men. Join a hiking club. Look at census reports for places with the most single men. Nevada has 125 males for every 100 females.
That is deep level stalking. Yeah. Wow.
Take up golf and go to different golf courses. Sit on a park bench and feed the pigeons. Get a job in a medical or dental law school. Become a nurse or an airline stewardess. They have very high marriage rates. Just because I become an air hostess doesn't mean definitely find a husband.
No, that gives me the vibe of like, you won't be his wife, but you will be his like mistress. That's giving me those 1950s vibes, like, you know, whilst the husband's on business trips.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna read you some of my favorites.
Yeah.
Be nice to everybody. They may have an eligible brother or son. Don't be afraid to associate with more attractive girls. They may have some leftovers. That's pretty much my favorite one by far. Get lost at football matches and tell your friends you're interested in getting married. Don't keep it a secret. Don't room with a girl who is a sad sack and let her bring you down.
You know what? I do think that some of these suggestions are pretty decent.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, one sec. Tim. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Some of these suggestions could work. I think
I feel like this could be a really funny exercise of like, okay, let me try golf then. So, one of them is...
It's about putting yourself out there, isn't it? And some of them are a bit like sexist in the sense, like, you know, work at a law firm or a dentistry or some dentist surgery because that's where men work. But it, you know, we have to admit, back in those days, it was men who would be in the stuff. So I'm not mad at a lot of these suggestions. It's really hard. You do have to put yourself out there and like walk the dog and strike up conversations with absolute strangers.
Oh yeah. And then if you've spotted someone, how to let him know you're there.
This is the toughest bit.
Oh, carry a hat box. Don't know why.
Okay.
Wear a Band-Aid. People always ask what happened.
Okay.
Stumble when you walk into a room that he's in.
Oh, to like
my personal favorite is stand in a corner and cry softly. Chances are that he'll come over and find out what's wrong.
No one's doing that. No one is doing that. Is so Hollywood. That is like someone's been watching too many films. So, she weeps to herself in the corner, and this like hunky gentleman comes up to you. He's like, "My poor lady, who's treated you so badly to make you cry in such a way?"
And there's further categories of how to make him look good, how to land him, and wild ideas, anything goes. So I might put that on our Instagram.
Yeah, please do. Please. I would read all of that. Because you know what? We can sniff all we want at past decades.
Oh, you've got to try. You've got to put yourself out there and stuff, you know?
I mean, we are no better at doing any of this stuff.
You know?
We're on apps, exactly. Or we're
ourselves like cows.
Some of you people out there are clicking on those ads, here's a single lady in your area. You know, people are still doing that in 2021. So I find that very interesting, Scarlett.
The last one I'm going to read you is just start a whispering campaign on how sought after you are.
Oh my God, that one and the census
are very intense.
That is the word I was looking for. Very intense. Jesus Christ.
That girl Scarlett is a real catch.
That girl Scarlett really knows how to cook a turkey. I know, like skills that are really sought after.
Oh man, she's real wife material.
I love it. I'll start a whispering campaign for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Fashion story this week.
So, fashion story. Let's start with probably the biggest one, and then I have some offshooting ones / smaller topics and whatever. So, our friends over at Pretty Little Thing,
Molly May,
former Love Island contestant, in honor
like to be associated with that.
She doesn't. In honor of our now defunct Love Island section, because it's no longer on. But Molly May, who was a former contestant, I think in 2019, correct me if I'm wrong, she has now become the UK and European creative director for Pretty Little Thing. First thing, when I saw this post...
Where's your fashion degree?
No, that wasn't even it for me. Mine was like, Pretty Little Thing has a creative director. I was like, what?
Because their standards can't be high.
What? There's a creative direction, is what you're telling me. And there is someone who has that role. And secondly, you're giving this role out to like...
I think they created this role for Molly.
Yeah, same. But I don't want to shit on her, like, her achievement.
Great career move for her. Good for her. She's making big money, if that's her thing. So my initial thought was Pretty Little Thing.
No, it's her though. It's her.
Yeah, but so if I were to go on the Love Island train and become as successful, like in influencing, I would choose a more ethical brand
for sure.
More because like that is just where we're moving. And actually, if she got asked in an interview, what do you make of the fact that they pay your like workers? Like, you don't want to be associated with a brand with a bad reputation. You don't,
but there's a couple of arguments that I would pose for as to why Pretty Little Thing makes sense. We spoke last week about how she only aligns herself with brands that she personally buys into. Pretty Little Thing, she's done campaigns for them, she wears their stuff, she buys from them. So that makes sense. Molly May is not in the business of making judgment calls or ethical judgment calls on which brand is better than the other. Like, which brand is better than the other. And we could say that most brands out there, no matter how much they're selling their product for, has a level of exploitation built in. So I get that. On the other hand, I think you're 100% right. Like if I were, you know, a reality TV star and I wanted to make a serious career out of fashion and whatnot, those sorts of brands would not be the one that I'd be reaching for. I'd want to go after other brands. But having said that, again,
you wouldn't go on those shows. So
listen, I might get desperate.
They wouldn't take us now. We're too old.
That's true. That's true. But she's carving out a lane that no one else from Love Island have been able to carve out themselves.
She's the most successful.
She'll be seen as like, I walked so you guys could run, you know, in a couple years down the line when people are getting deals like from, I don't know, like Selfridges or something, like a brand that's or synonymous with more higher level fashion. It will be because Molly May was able to secure this Pretty Little Thing job. That's how I view it. But yeah.
And she's 22.
Oh, it's insane.
So like the thing that went most viral was even before she announced it, that she had bought herself a Cartier bracelet that was worth like 30 odd grand.
30?
I think it was like worth like 37 grand. It was diamond encrusted Cartier bracelet. Next to her Rolex. Maybe it was that her whole wrist was worth something or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it was like, for a treat, she's bought herself a 30 grand bracelet.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I give myself an Apple, I can barely afford a McDonald's. And that was like the rounds on Instagram. So like, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah. I think also something she'd come out with recently before the announcement of her new position was, and kind of what you alluded to previous, is that she's so desperate to try and move away from Love Island. She basically said that Love Island did nothing for her career and that it's all down to hard work. And it's like, whoa. She was an influencer before, but your numbers have rocketed since then. She was not as successful. No. And there's no need to shit on Love Island because people love the show. People genuinely love, support it, follow those contestants after the show. Really people really stand for Molly May because she's been so successful outside of it as well. And
that makes her stand apart alone, because she has gone back to her job, sort of that was her thing beforehand, and really worked hard and made the best of it. So she shouldn't really shy away from it. I don't think she's someone who's always trying to sell teeth whitening products, trying to sell you some weird knockoff holiday or all of that stuff. She's forged a more sort of steady path and stable path than others. So, but yeah, I kind of don't know what this entails. If that means she oversees every item that goes on the website, because as if, or if she's just going to do these curated collections and that's going to be what she's CEO or creative director of. But the collection she even launched was really small.
I'd be really interested to see what this role is, how it's fluffed out, is she a glorified brand ambassador?
Doing a 9 to 5 there. I saw a few TikToks of people so I'm just curious, on top of all your influencer stuff that seem to fill up your time, how are you going to fit this in? And we all know it's that she turns up there every other week or whatever and ticks a few.
She works once a week or something, one day a week. I really don't understand. Is she a glorified brand ambassador?
Yeah.
Or
I think potentially got stakes in the company, who knows?
Yeah. So do you want to do a fashion story?
Well, that was one of them. Another is the fact that why has Venice become the new sort of fashion show location?
Are you talking about D&G?
D&G, it's been everywhere, hasn't it? And that J-Lo outfit was pretty cool. We could see her tag.
What? The label?
You could see a label, I guess, because it's borrowed from D&G type of a thing. You could see like the label, whether it was
was it like a swing tag?
I can't remember now. But yeah,
I mean, surely if a brand like that, if a brand is like that is lending such a high profile celebrity an outfit, they're going to say, please take off the tags because we know what we lent you.
Yeah. It's just obviously like a faux pas from her stylist or something like that. But yeah, I think it was in the rain, one of the shows, mainly because all we see is Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker.
I love them.
Going around everywhere.
But I love them.
Yeah, but together. She's not fashion. She wore an outfit the other day. I'll post it on our Instagram. It made me want to vomit. I actually screenshot it to send it to you and just never did. And yeah, she's not fashion. I mean, none of them are. But yeah, just Venice seems to be like the new. I don't know if Venice is safer at the moment, if it's something like that. I
guess maybe there's more outdoor locations.
Yeah,
I don't know what it could be, but it's a nice change regardless from Milan.
Yeah.
And I mean, I did see, I feel like everyone and their cat was invited to this event. There were so many like celebs, weren't there? And even like celebs, I didn't know they got invited to shows like that. But I just can't get past my dislike for Dolce & Gabbana as a brand. I really do struggle with it. I was like, I liked a few pictures and I was like, I'm liking them because the celebrity looks good and not because I really like D&G. Yeah, I just think they're the guys there are weird and not particularly nice. But yeah, everyone was there. And there were some like really dramatic looks from the guests. And it was definitely like fantastical and
it was very sort of like regal, baroque, like very fancy, like you said, almost like they're dressing up in a world where we dress differently type of a thing.
Was it Jennifer Hudson or Jasmine Sullivan? Someone, either one of those two women sang this opera song outside. It was a really beautiful performance. The reason I can't remember who it was is because like the video that I saw of the performance was quite a distance away, so I couldn't see their face. But I was like, wow, this is actually beautiful, very much in the way, in like the sense of grandeur that Valentino had when we spoke about them a few weeks ago. So I appreciate sort of the effort. I do sort of roll my eyes at a fashion show now being like a 3-day event or something like that. I don't think that's needed. I think it's a little overkill. Like that there's almost like the night before, maybe like the dinner before the show, going out afterwards, and then there's like a brunch or something like we don't need that. But I suppose they've got to now more than ever, if you're going to have like fly like 200 people over to your event, and a lot of them we're going to have to quarantine or, you know, do this, that and the other just to get there. I guess as the people who are putting on the show, you've got to accommodate people more, keep them busy, keep that buzz alive and like justify for that amount of travel. You know, when we've only got like 15 years left on this planet Earth. Not to be dramatic, but you know.
What's one of your fashion stories?
Okay, so following on from Pretty Little Thing, sort of, but our best friends over at
Boohoo.com.
So the CEO, believe he's a CEO. Yeah, he's definitely top dog over there. His name is John Little, and he has been saying in an interview that Boohoo is not just a throwaway fashion brand, and that we're actually trying to become more sustainable. And these goals or these targets were actually thrown out in the interview that I read. His aim is that 40% of their collections by next spring, summer will be sustainable. 40%.
What does he mean by sustainable?
Okay, so there was an MP, a UK MP, who said, yeah, this smells like greenwashing, essentially. There's so many brands out there, you know, that claim to have, like, at the very least, like a diffusion line, which is like 100% organic cotton or made from recycled bottles and this, that, and the other. And we have this recycling program. If you bring your old clothes, then we recycle it and all this stuff. And really, it amounts to such a small percentage of their overall turnover or overall sales that it's just a way to, like, market themselves as being doing something and being sustainable. But I don't see this happening for Boohoo, and it's not because we're so, like, we shit on them all the time, but most
their customer isn't shopping there because they care about sustainability either, you know.
I know, but this is another thing. This was another quote he actually said, and it was like, this is not verbatim, but it was essentially, our customers shop with us for, like, the styling, you know, like what they have to offer from a creative standpoint. And I thought to myself, no, people shop with you because of the price.
Yeah. Because it is throwaway prices.
Yeah.
If I'm going to buy a whole new wardrobe for, like, a festival and not care if I lose an item of clothing, like, that's the kind of website I turn to. If I want a whole, like, to reinvent myself for a holiday that, like, I'm going to take all my Instagram photos for, that's where I'm going to, like, buy it from, because I don't want to be seen on that again. I'm not this person, but, like, that's what it's there for. But they've also just pumped loads of money into, I'm assuming, Jack Grealish, poster boy of the Euros, is now their, like, one of them, like, brand ambassadors. Yeah.
He's a Boohoo
and
man.
His girlfriend is Boohoo Lady.
Oh, wow. This is the thing. We've said it before. They're very good at advertising. I feel like their partnerships they do on point. The campaigns they do really make you feel like you're in the mood for a holiday. They do that so well. But I don't buy any of this. Our data shows that people buy into our brand because, you know, it's not a throwaway brand. They actually like our designs and that we're going to hit 40. I don't buy into any of it. I mean, more, let's say less throwaway brands out there don't even do 40% sustainability.
Yeah.
So unless they have this complete overhaul of their entire supply chain and, like, their labor force, because we know last year there's some horrendous claims came out.
Unless your prices are going to quadruple,
I don't see it happening.
You're never going to be sustainable, because you can't get away with paying not minimum wage. Minimum wage is more than the garments.
Yeah. And I think also it calls into question the idea of what does sustainable mean? Because sustainable can mean, okay, are we paying people a living wage for them to survive off and not have to turn to, like, government benefits, let's say? That's a form of sustainability. You can't run a business and say you're successful, and yet everyone who works for you is not getting paid what they're due and able to live off that wage. That's not sustainable. And you can't say we're sustainable, but really most of the money that we make on our garments are the ones that are, you know, it's not going to hold up. You wear it once, you wash it once, it's not going to survive another year. It's both things, I think.
Oh, it's totally socioeconomic. It's for the people involved. It's whether the materials are sourced ethically. It's whether they're made ethically. It's whether or not, like, how much water, or whether they're putting stuff in landfill, the dyeing, like, it's everything. This is why it's a really hard word to use. So I really do hope they've thought about it fully, because if you say you're that word, that means you're meant to recycle everything, that like you're meant to try and use all of your offcuts or throw away minimal waste. That means you're paying all your workers fairly, like, and that doesn't just mean minimum, it means fairly. Like it means that you're using like recycled fabrics, and you're making sure that like whoever you buy them from is also paying their, like, the chain of it is so hard to control. That's a really tough word to throw out there. Like when we spoke to a friend of the podcast, our recycled socks friend Sam, she talked to us about how hard that is to make sure that every step along the way you can truly say. And she did that sort of by becoming friends and getting to know everyone along the way. Yeah. Because it's very hard to know that. So good luck to you, Boohoo. I hope they do, like, good for them. Like you said, I know we make fun of them, but like I'm not wishing them badly. So let's hope they can do that.
Yeah. You got any other fashion stories before I come in with my next one?
No, go for it.
So this was just an interesting little thing I thought I'd pose to you. I read it on an article written by the Financial Times, and it was basically saying how the tech industry has really struggled to make headways in fashion in the way of like using AI and tech to like come out with successful designs, or to come out with like helping customers choose or predict what customers would like to buy into. It's that like idea of using tech to offer up product to customers or design product with the data of customers in mind. They've been good at like payment processing and like shipping and all that other stuff, and you know, the logistics of fashion, but the idea of like, you know, that creative element, the tech world have tried to approach fashion in that way, and it hasn't worked so far. And I thought, you as a designer, do you see us living in a world where, you know, we'll go on a website and clothes will be suggested to us and like tailor-made based on our past purchases and like what people are trending and things like that? Do you see that happening? So
the only places I can imagine doing things like that would be the likes of a Pretty Little Thing or a Boohoo, where they just have like, say it's 10,000 silhouettes and they just have that.
Yeah.
We're paying more money for a high street store to like think about how they place a pattern on something. Like you have a creative eye, like there's no tick box exercise. Otherwise we'll all be dressed pretty basically, or like we won't be able to express ourselves maybe the way we want to. One thing I could more foresee in maybe luxury fashion is maybe returning at some point to like a made to order esque thing, which I know still loads of people do. Like even I'm pretty sure in the beauty community earlier and earlier in the year, those beauty advent calendars come out, and one of the brands that I sometimes shop for beauty stuff, Cult Beauty, which is like a luxury beauty website, have asked people to sign up for the wait list for it. And I imagine that is so they can gauge interest and know how many numbers to make, essentially. Especially because one of the things they're doing is also giving back to a COVID charity with the sale of it. So I imagine they're making sure that they can make obviously the best of that for the charity and blah, blah, blah. So, and it happens often in fashion anyway. But as a designer, we used to try and make as like lifelike technical drawings or computer drawings of pieces. So often you wouldn't make every piece of a collection. And so sometimes you would have these computer aided designs in the lookbook for people to look at. So you almost would make sure you've got one of every fabric, one of every color, but not to say like a purse comes in 5 colorways. You would often make it in 1 or 2, but across the range, if it comes in a yellow leather, you see that yellow leather on something else. If it comes in a print, you see that print on something else. So you know what the fabric looks like, and you know what the product looks like without making 100 pieces. You then can condense it to like 30 or something, which is much more economical and also better for the environment. So I can foresee that becoming more of a thing as well with regular people, that you just sort of have as lifelike an image as possible. But I also just think nothing beats seeing a physical item, especially if you're spending a lot of money on it. And that's the unfortunate thing, is that like, even if someone 3D printed a Chanel bag, I want to feel that leather. I want, like, you know, I'm never going to buy it off of a mock-up.
But I mean, the same was said 20 years ago about buying luxury fashion online.
True. And actually, my mum was even saying this to me the other day, that she went into sort of a beauty section of a department store, and she really enjoyed sort of some of her makeup had run out. She really enjoyed looking at new things and stuff like that and picking out some new bits. Whereas I think it's because I like makeup more. But I'm happy to buy my makeup online. I know what shade I am and stuff generally, if also like in the least conceited way, I'm good enough to make it work. Like if my foundation's a little bit wrong, I'll mix it with another color and I'll make it work. Towards my foundation's always too dark for my skin, but just bring it down your neck, ladies. Like I wear more bronzer than there's the color of my cheeks anyway, type of a thing. And so I think because I like playing with makeup, there's less risk in that. But yeah, I mean, think Kim, best-selling perfume, and no one smelled it before buying it.
Yeah.
So we are now living in a world where, because people will recommend something to us, we go off a recommendation rather than our own opinions sometimes. Yeah.
I think this whole like AI designed thing could work. I see no reason why it wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, will it make our fashion sense more fragmented if there are multiple iterations of the same thing with slight variations? Will it just mean that we're going to be dressing in a far more basic way? Kind of like how we saw over the past 18 months, it was like everyone was in like trackies and sweats and stuff. And there's that brand called Pangaea, and they do like nothing but colorful loungewear. Maybe that's just like what the AI systems would be good at, like basics, suggesting like good basics to everyone. I don't know, but to do like a cohesive collection, like a couture collection, I just don't think that a computer can pull off that sort of thing. I think it's just going to be it's going to come out really weird. You know, when they talk about like uncanny valley, things just come out but not quite right. I think that's what fashion would end up looking like, if you can call it uncanny valley. But yeah, that's the end of my fashion story.
We interrupt this broadcast to remind you, go follow us on Instagram, StyleOverSubstancePod. Shoot us an email, styleoversubstancepeak@gmail.com. Find us on YouTube, find us on Twitter. We've got all the links on our Instagram. You know what to do.
I think potentially fitting into a mold, it definitely suits one areas of the topics we are discussing today. So we're sort of covering tattoos, plastic surgery, and just sort of like plus size and how sort of fashion trends and like unusual, I guess, fashion trends. And I definitely think when it comes to plastic surgery, what I was saying earlier about the fact that we almost do stuff out of recommendation, I think it's very much started to be the way that people see plastic surgery, is that because other people are doing it, surely I should be doing that, rather than, I think it originally stemmed from. I mean, maybe not. I know there were like tragic boob jobs in the 90s where people probably did a similar thing. But I think a lot of it more used to come from a place of self-esteem and lacking or having something, being self-conscious. If it's your nose and being like, I hate my nose, I want to change it. Whereas I now think it's, my nose doesn't look like that, or my, like, it's that kind. I think that inspires people probably a little more than just a sweeping, like, or a crippling confidence issue.
Yeah, I think like when we talk about tattoos and plastic surgery and like body shapes and whatnot, it's definitely comes in waves and trends and things throughout the years, and we've kind of talked about that previous. I think you're right in a sense. I think that things like tattoos, for example, across all kinds of cultures, it was very taboo, and you would only do it if you were like part of that subculture, or you were someone who wanted to go against the norm and do something a bit like outlandish or whatever.
You would almost portray yourself as a certain type of person.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in like
not in a negative way. Yeah.
In a negative way, but it was more like you were either a bit edgier or you just, I don't know. Whereas now, anyone, like someone who's sitting in a room reading a book, a bookworm could have a tattoo. Yeah. Or the punk rock dude can, and the lawyer can, and whatever. Whereas back in the day, it was much more of like, it was either a reflection of your music taste or like your attitude to life. Yeah. And even the trends of what tattoos you get. Like now at the moment, it's very those fine line tattoos. Yeah. Do you remember the colour of the ink back in the 90s? It was that bluish colour. Those Chinese symbols were real.
Oh, yeah. You had to have an armband.
An armband and a Chinese thing.
Yeah. Got to have a bit of a yin and yang.
Shout out Sporty Spice.
Definitely. And I think that so trends like used to say something more about you inherently as a person, for good or bad reasons. Yeah, to know. I think that when it came to body modification, it was like you either, as you said, you had this really bad insecurity, or you saw celebrities with this thing, and if you were lucky enough to have the money to go under the knife and get it, then you really had to go out of your way to get something as big a deal as plastic surgery.
And it would have been quite a taboo thing.
Yeah, you would never admit
from.
Yeah, you wouldn't admit it.
You wouldn't sort of be like,
definitely. And the same thing with like bodies as well. And I mean like bodies in sense of like the shape of your body, like sizing and things like
trying
that.
To conform to like a body shape and things like that.
For the most part, people recognize that, you know, I'm not built like that. So let's move on. I'll forget about that. Now,
people
with
try
access,
to sculpt it in the gym, try and like, you know, how many times do I see that if you want your arms to be smaller, do this exercise. If you want like, you know, if you want your shoulders to look smaller, if you want your hips to look wider. And it's like, ultimately, your body shape is your body shape, unless you're really into bodybuilding, but still, we've all seen men who lift weights and still have no calf muscles, you know. Like you can't necessarily, like your body shape is also your body shape. Because I remember when I started CrossFit, I asked if I would get hench, and they just looked at me and said no. That's not your body type, so no, you're not.
It takes an incredible amount of work to change your body shape.
You have to dedicate yourself to it, and no one has time for that.
No one does. So I think what's really interesting about what we see now is that accessibility to surgery and body modification that we didn't grow up with, our parents didn't grow up with. And I don't know, I often think to myself, it's not a judgment on those who have surgeries, but a surgery is surgery. It's still a big deal, whether it's you're going in for health.
If you're going under like local anaesthetic, is it local general?
General, yeah.
you're going under. That's a really big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really big deal. And especially for something like that is to modify your appearance. I mean, like, remember when Heidi from The Hills got like all those treatments in one, and she probably could have died, and like that was dangerous. And it was because really she had an addiction. And that's crazy. She put her body through so much just for like, and she was a gorgeous girl before, like it wasn't like she needed it. Not that if you're ugly you need it either, but like it just must have come from some really like like I almost wonder, and this is going to sound really pious, but like should you almost be like given some form of counseling or like a bit of that, are you doing this for the right reasons?
100%.
Or do you have a surgery addiction here? Like, and I know it's an industry to make profit, but the reality is, like, I think I said on here like a few months ago, like I was just going through Instagram every day and just seeing girls with like lip injections and thinking, do I need that? If somebody questioned me on that, if that's my reasoning, they'd be like, absolutely don't do that. Like, you know, you're not doing this for the right reasons. I'm going to turn you away.
Yeah, I think that doctors do have a duty of care to be like, no, you've done too much. I can't add to it because A, it's dangerous for you, and B, you're going to come out and not like the results that I give to you anyway. But I think that with like this idea of getting plastic surgery for the reasons of like, oh, everyone's getting it, maybe I need it, it really calls into question the idea of like body trends. And I think that's really interesting. Like when we talk about fashion and buying clothes is one thing. No, you can shout out to Boohoo. I can buy something and I can throw it away, or I can sell it on if it's not for me, if I'm not feeling it, if it doesn't fit me, if it doesn't work out, it's not permanent.
Even to your bank balance, because you can sell it on.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're just, it's not so much of a loss.
You're 15 quid down on a Boohoo.com dress, you know?
Exactly. And it's like, I find the idea of trends, but like aesthetic trends, interesting because it is permanent. And like even when we think about, when we consider what the environment that we grow up in, I don't know anyone who had like a lip lift or a blepharoplasty or maybe I knew people with like nose jobs. Those are quite common, and like breast augmentations and stuff, but even things like lip fillers, cheek filler, chin implants, cheek implants.
Trying to change the structure of your face with implants.
Liposuction to the face or to the body to that extent. Getting BBLs to get like that hourglass shape. There's so many like minute procedures, like thread lifts. Have you seen those? Those scare me so much. Like there's so many little surgeries now
or even treatments.
How
many like, you know, those those water retention like massages, you know, all those things, but like
lymphatic drainage,
and like I'm sure that is legit, but like the way you're advertising it is that you walk in a size 10 and you come out a size 6, like, you know, that doesn't happen.
The question is to you that I have is like what are your thoughts on all these like surgeries, body modifications that we're seeing today, and when and if do you think they will come out of fashion, and will we start seeing a more natural a desire to look more natural, or do you think some of these bodies will start to look dated, as we can have like clothes from the 90s look dated today? Bodies in that image of today in 20 years time will look dated
for sure. I think even you often see, I think the general consensus for young makeup is not much. Like there's either the people who also get really dressed up, but I haven't seen that as much anymore. Like I think Kylie Jenner was probably that generation of like learning to do their makeup so well. But I think we're now sort of in an era where like people are, because a lot of trends for young people are like quite bohemian styles. It's either that laid back 90s, that grunge look. Like the fashion doesn't take big makeup well.
Like the Emma Chamberlains of the world, where they're very like minimal.
Yeah, and like, you know, it's baggy jeans, it's a baggy jumper, it's like oversized, it's 70s flares and stuff like that. It's clothes that don't really suit a lot of makeup, and it's sort of that low maintenance look. And so I think even with the rise of that, I think that is a more natural way of being, and hopefully we're sort of eradicating a little bit, because I think Love Island will be on its way out soon, whether it has like a few years left or not. But I think we are sort of starting to see through that side of things. I mean, it was still a lot of fake lips and stuff like that. But I mean, I guess Millie, the reflection is the person who won was the most natural looking person. You know?
But was her looks anything to do with why they won?
Probably not. But like, and people have to like you as well to vote for you. And so I'm sort of hoping we're somewhat eradicating that like reality star look that I think really started this body image like crisis. Where you literally see their looks change. I mean, I watch Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I don't know if anyone watches that. If you have, one lady, her face changes every season. She's had more Botox. She's had another nose job. She's like, you know, she's had more tightening, and she looked great. But like, her face changes every season. So what message does that send to me about aging and stuff like that? So I'm hoping that we are going to wash that out at some point, and we will look back and there'll be all the people who've damaged their faces somewhat, and you'll be able to tell, because you can definitely tell certain, like that Pamela Anderson look of like those big engorged boobs, like that's a moment back in the 90s and that kind of a thing. And there are certain nose jobs that probably will be true to now. And a certain look, like that pinched nose is sort of very 90s or like back then. And
people aren't getting pinched noses anymore.
No, it's probably more like the little like slope or whatever it is. Because think of every filter as well. So I have a naturally quite a slim nose. If I put a filter on it, my nose somewhat disappears.
Yeah.
And like, so if everyone puts a filter on, and like that clearly tells you what they're trying to make the image of beauty of, is like a pinched, like a narrow, like slope nose or something. What do you think? Do you think it's sort of something that's here to stay?
I do. I think that very Black Mirror. I think younger people today are so much more clued up about makeup, as you said, so much more clued up about aesthetics. When we were teenagers, you know,
surgery would never have been an option.
It would have never been an option. As many insecurities as I may have had about how I looked at the time, I just had to like accept
ride it.
That you know what, I hate X, Y, and Z about my face or my body or whatever, but there's nothing I can do about it. And you have to, like, as you said, ride the wave and just like learn how to accept yourself. And then you come out the other end and you're like, no, I'm so glad I didn't have the money, the means, the access to actually like get any surgery, because I might be looking crazy right now. But when you grow up in this day and age where surgery is becoming easy to obtain, I think parents now are probably more open to the idea of buying plastic surgery for their kids at a younger age. I see no reason why more and more in the future we won't see younger, let's say, for example, girls, when they get to the age of 18, they're going to have a very natural looking nose job where it's not a massive difference, but it's going to completely change or alter that person's face. And because they're still so young, they're going to like live the rest of their lives with that nose as the only nose we know them to have. Does that make sense? It's like in Hollywood, a lot of these young actors and actresses get like their noses done really early on in the career, because then you can't find pictures of them like as a big Hollywood star and be like, oh, that was the year that they had their nose done, or look, they've always had those features, they've always looked the same, and really they didn't. I think that we're going to see like really cleverly done surgeries and stuff, so that I don't wear makeup, look, I'm natural, like you can't see, like I'm not like fully glammed, but secretly like they've had a brow lift, they've had lip filler, they've had all this stuff done to make them look like their faces and their bodies naturally occurred like that. I think that when it comes to like BBLs has come into the topic of discussion like a lot recently, because I think a lot of people saw, lockdowns ending, and they were like, right, this is the perfect time, when we're still wearing masks, I can get my facelift, I can get my lips done, I can and I'm going to wear a mask over it anyway, so no one's going to suspect I've had work done, or I'm going to be in the house for months anyway, so I can get like lipo done and not have to go into the office. And so BBLs have become quite popular in the past few months while people are still at home, able to like recover and hide from the world. And I think not only is that like many doctors and surgeons have said that it's the most dangerous procedure you can have,
for sure,
but when you do get these really big hips and big bums and like liposuction on every square inch of your body, I think very soon, I give it like 5-10 years, no one's gonna want that body look anymore.
No, because also like it's the time of the fashions. Like if you look over the decades and the different body types that were popular, it changes every 10 years.
Yeah,
like the decades, I'm sure it changed even more than that, but like it evolves and it changes and stuff like that. And I just think it's a lot. It's one thing to correct like your nose if you think you've broken it, or you really insecure, or you got bullied about it, or something like that. That's one thing. Or you've always wanted boobs and you don't have them, that kind of a thing. I understand more. Maybe it's because that was more common when we were younger.
Yeah. I was when you were saying that, I was thinking about like what happened to just getting your ears pinned back.
Yeah. But like it's another thing to change your body type, because like you said, that's such a like, there might be a point where totally flat chested and a boyish figure comes back into style, and then you're stuck with this Kardashian hourglass that is not cool anymore. And like, what a shame. I think you've got to really just think about the reasons you get stuff done. It's like, the big thing often with when people do get tattoos and that kind of a thing, it's like, as long as you can live with it, get it done. And I think and they're probably becoming more fashionable pieces, but because I think they're looked upon now with less disdain, and maybe that's what plastic surgery will be in like 20 years. Like there was definitely a vibe of somebody like tattooed, and I still reckon if I bought a really heavily tattooed man back to my parents,
they'd be looking at him sideways.
Yeah, because it's a thing. But I wouldn't mind betting that, like, we now look at it doesn't necessarily mean they're rough and tough. It doesn't necessarily mean anything.
We give like people who are heavily tattooed more of a chance now, isn't it?
We give them more of a chance. So I wonder if in some time we will give more of a chance to plastic surgery and just see it as an enhancement, like tattooing and things like that. However, I will say tattooing and stuff like that is more of a portrayal often of art. It's a way of expressing yourself that only really affects you. Whereas I think plastic surgery is, a real risk to your health. And so that affects the people who love you.
I think also there's just so much, it sounds like we're really anti-surgery, but not. But I think...
No, if you told me tomorrow that you were getting something done, I'd be like, good for you.
Yeah. I think it's just the idea of like buying into a trend, which can be dangerous. I think also because there's so much upkeep. of surgery. Lots of times you have to go back for revisions.
Which only last 10 years.
Yeah. Or like veneers. Veneers is a big one.
They fall out.
Yeah, and you have to get them redone. Your teeth can get infected underneath the caps. They are so high maintenance that you have to have the money, the energy, and the good health to withstand all of that. I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Another one. So let's imagine you're 15. What were the things you would have had done if you were like allowed to get whatever surgery or body modification or tattoos or whatever once you turn 18? No expenses spared. Your parents were a-okay with it all.
I don't know. I didn't really lust after changing one thing necessarily.
Yeah, because Scarlett was good looking at school, guys.
No, I was not.
Yeah, you were.
I maybe would have. I was really big on wanting to grow boobs when I was younger. They came in quite late, so they probably would have. It probably would have been that, but then I wouldn't have needed it, guys. I was a late bloomer. I don't really know. Because also I'm freckly, and I sort of feel like, and I know this probably isn't the case, but I feel like if I had like a nose job or something, I feel like my freckles wouldn't be like, do you know what I mean? Like I feel like it'd be like different skin, even though it probably wouldn't be.
They don't put on someone else's skin on your nose or something.
I know, but because you don't see many people with plastic surgery who are freckly, there aren't many examples for me to look at of what it does to your skin.
Do you think that like your freckles will get stretched out or something in places?
Yeah, I don't know. And also I think the difficulty is that freckles often are a sign of like natural beauty. You don't see many, well, maybe it's because people cake over their freckles. But you often see people wearing their freckles and they're quite natural people. And
maybe that's how you cover up good plastic surgery. It's like, guys, I'm just an au naturel kind of girl.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe, you know what? I always wanted braces, so potentially teeth. Even though I don't think I need braces.
Yeah, you don't.
I think teeth maybe. How about you?
Oh God. If I were 15 now, I would have said I wanted a nose job, even though I would have said, of course, I would have said that. Even though I think nose jobs it's not that great, but I don't care. No, but like you get older and you don't care about these things so much. Even though nose jobs are very scary.
Being older is like, this is just my face.
Yeah, exactly. I would have definitely gone for that, I think.
And would you have got tattoos?
Maybe some like face lipo.
Those cheeks.
Yeah. I'd still take that if someone's offering.
No.
So tattoos. No, actually, I wouldn't. I think as I've gotten older, I think I like tattoos more. I think I was aware enough, at least when I was younger, to know that I wouldn't know what I would want to put on my body for life.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I never got one of those like weird mustache tattoos. You know, there was like a period or like
your finger.
Yeah. Or like when YouTubers, especially in like the beauty community, started like tattooing eyelashes on their arms, which was weird also. I think with tattoos, you're right. When I was younger, I very much could feel the permanence of it. Mm-hmm.
Whereas now, I think because the trend is for them to be thin.
Your eyebrows? Is that what you're thinking?
No, did I say eyebrows?
No.
Tattoos.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I think because the trend is for them to be thin, I think they're more delicate and easier to sort of hide. And I think because I have that sort of acceptance now of like, this is my body, this is my face, like I look how I look. I think I would just accept whatever I put on it in that way.
Yeah.
And also when it comes to surgery, the idea of my reflection changing after all this time really freaks me out.
Yes, that's such a good point.
I've got used to this one, you know.
Who are you?
Like, yeah, I don't want to be like, who's she?
Yeah, I completely get what you mean. That's a really kind of deeper philosophical like question. Am I that person? Like, reflecting back at me. I do. I do have the UK's top most popular plastic surgery, and then on a global scale as well. Okay, so women, this won't surprise us, but this data is from 2018. So we have breast enlargement. Surprise.
That's the most popular.
Yep. We have breast reduction. We have blepharoplasty, which, if you don't know, is like removing the excess skin from your eyelids. I think it might be
for older ladies,
underneath eye bit. But that's a really popular.
No, I think it's to
the top one,
sagging eyes.
Yeah, for hooded eyelids and things. Abdominoplasty, which is a tummy tuck. In the UK, man. If you get a cesarean, I hear that they're a cesarean, a 2-for-1, and liposuction.
Deal.
For men, it's a rhinoplasty, an otoplasty, which is to do with your ears. I think that's the ear pinning back. Blepharoplasty as well, sagging eyelids, breast reduction. Yeah, okay. Because there's a lot of men, if you lose weight,
you got your moves, man. Excess skin.
Shift them. And liposuction. So it centers a lot around weight loss in particular, I think. As for the global results, so the top 10 most popular types of plastic surgery around the world is breast augmentation, as mentioned before in the UK, rhinoplasty, so a nose job, eyelid surgery, as we said, blepharoplasty, liposuction, tummy tuck, facelifts. Now,
that's scary.
I'm surprised that facelifts didn't feature in the UK top 10.
I think they're expensive.
Yeah, and like you have to be really specialist, I feel. A breast lift. And
I'd have that for sure when I'm old. They're hanging low.
I think I would do a half facelift. I think if I were older, I think that's the thing I would go for.
I'd definitely do something to like
a brow lift,
like a little, but I would do it with injections. I wouldn't do it with knives.
Oh, I see. Like
baby Botox is what I would do.
And then the last one is dermabrasion. It's not a surgery as such, but like a skin rebuffing procedure.
So I was about to say it all sounds really superficial, but I guess it's all
technically really, isn't
it? I'm actually surprised that nose jobs aren't the most popular.
So that was it. Our episode on surgeries, tattoos, body changes, if it's a trend or a fad, and what we would do ourselves if you
guys have had surgery, let us, and you're happy to share, let us know what, and like
why,
and would you do it again and stuff like that. Are you happy with it?
No regrets.
Or what you want done. No regrets.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting topic. It's so personal.
It's so personal, and trust me, there is no judgment here. Like, I know people who've had surgery done and they look great for it, and like totally support that. I just think I'd be freaked out about a difference in my appearance. I think because I've got to a point of acceptance. But
yeah. A quick last little point. I think for me, it's not what you get done, it's the age at which you get it. For me, like, you have to get over hating the way you look before you're in any mindset. Before you start getting things done, because then you realize half the stuff that you wanted is just doesn't add anything to your life, girlies.
Doesn't change it.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, guys. We're going to put out a little poll question thing as to what you said. What have any of you guys had? Do you regret it? Would you do it all over again? How were the results? I want to know. We're getting nosy. Thanks again for listening. Nosy. Yeah. I was going to say it's a bit cheeky, but then okay. I'll see you next week, guys. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.